Is Drake Maye the best quarterback in the rookie class? We give you a way too early re-ranking here on Patscast.
Out in the northeast where the cold winds blow, a rookie's rising with a fire to show. Drake Maye's
Welcome to Patscast. I'm Brad Whitaker. Good to be with you today. As I said at the top, this is way too early to be doing this thing. A lot could change, but I'm about to re-rank the rookie quarterbacks, just the top four impactful starting rookie quarterbacks, to see where they are today relative to where they were on draft day. And like I said, this should be taken with a grain of salt because who knows? Bo Nix could turn out to be the best quarterback in the class when all is said and done. Jayden Daniels might go back to his MVP ways the rest of the season. Drake Maye could fall off a cliff because the Patriots culture could break down in the next 6 weeks. Caleb Williams could get Ben Johnson as his next head coach by next season, and suddenly he's off and running. So a lot could change between now and whenever these quarterbacks, we get a good outlook on the end of their career. But let's start with the number 4 guy out of the 4 quarterbacks, and I'm still sticking with Bo Nix on this one. And I know everyone's on the Bo Nix hype train at this point. And look, I really like Bo Nix. A year ago I was saying the Patriots should really consider drafting this guy. But that was before I realized they were only going to win 4 games, and they ended up with a top 3 draft pick. But Bo Nix, in another draft, would probably be a top 3 draft pick, and it's working out pretty well in Denver. We know he's shown significant growth in managing games. He's reduced his turnovers. He's making safer plays. Seems to be a good leader. Was named a team captain early on. His completion percentage has been very consistent, very composed, level of poise in the pocket. And it shows from his experience from college. You know, he played a lot of time as a college quarterback, similar to Jayden Daniels. Both guys were in college for quite a period of time and entered the NFL basically ready to go. But the reason I don't move Bo Nix ahead of the other 3 quarterbacks is because the Denver Broncos have the best offensive line in football. Statistically, if you look at the data, you look at Pro Football Focus, the data that they put out just today, the Denver Broncos rank number 1, not just across the entire offensive line, they also rank number 1 at the tackle position. And when you're coming into that situation as a rookie, things are going to look better than they actually seem. I'm not saying Bo Nix isn't their future franchise quarterback. I'm not saying he's not going to have a bright career ahead of him, but you have to kind of take that with a grain of salt because he has protection that none of these other rookie quarterbacks currently have. And, you know, there were some rough stretches for Nix, particularly early in the season, and I know he's been very efficient with the short to intermediate throws, but there's been moments where his deep passing needs a lot of work. And also, I don't think he is the best of these 4 quarterbacks in terms of composure, in terms of pocket presence. There's still times when he hesitates in the pocket, can lead to sacks or hurried throws sometimes. And we see this with Drake Maye. He escapes a little too early. There's things that Bo Nix could be doing a lot better there. But overall, I mean, the fact that I'm even considering Bo Nix in the top 3 says a lot about where he is currently at, but he's surrounded by great protection. He has some decent weapons there in Denver, and that's kind of a dark horse team to watch out for the rest of the year. So very impressed with Bo Nix, but I'm not ready to put him in the top 3 quite yet, just because I think he is in a better situation with Sean Payton with that offensive line than some of these other quarterbacks are. Number 3, and this might be a bit of a surprise, I'm putting Caleb Williams of the Chicago Bears. We know what Caleb Williams is capable of. He flashes his talent, incredible arm strength, ability to make plays off script, various arm angles while on the move. Very flashy quarterback. Definitely the most fun to watch, at least in college. But we've seen it start to deteriorate a little bit in Chicago. And look, there's been a noticeable inconsistency in his plays. Some games he looks lost or out of sync with the offense. There are games where he's bounced back from that. I mean, the game where they ultimately lost on the Hail Mary against the Washington Commanders, Caleb Williams did not play well that game the first 3 quarters, but by the 4th quarter, he bounced back very well, and the Bears should have won that game, but we all know what happened there. But overall, he's had issues with turnovers, which can be attributed to his inexperience, trying to force plays downfield. There's been a bit of an adjustment there with the pro game, and look, I talked about Bo Nix and his offensive line, and that was the reason I'm not going to put him in the top 3. Caleb Williams has a top 10 offensive line. Looking at the same PFF data, they're ranked 9th overall. Tackles aren't great, but they have a good center. They have decent guards. But again, they are a top 10 NFL offensive line according to Pro Football Focus. And I know the coaching situation there. They fired their offensive coordinator. It's been a huge mess. They're going to have a new head coach next year. I think that's fairly certain. But we all know what Caleb Williams is capable of. And like I said, he ends up in a situation next year where Ben Johnson, who apparently last offseason wanted to go to Chicago, he ends up with Ben Johnson next year. He's going to be in a far better situation than any of these current rookie quarterbacks. So there's a lot of hope there, a lot of potential with Caleb Williams, but just kind of the erratic throws, the moving around, bailing on plays too early. He's a bit of a firecracker out there, and it makes me feel a little bit more comfortable moving the other 2 quarterbacks into the top 2. So number 2, this is not going to be a surprise to many because this is a Patriots podcast. I'm actually putting Jayden Daniels, and a month ago I would have said no way in hell, but he's come back to earth a little bit, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact the Washington Commanders, Dan Quinn, the former Arizona coach whose name is slipping from me right now, they really simplified the offense for him, and that worked pretty well right out of the gate for a couple of months there. But now that teams are starting to get a little bit more film on Washington, they're seeing Jayden Daniels' tendencies. A lot of issues there that have kind of cropped up the last few weeks. I'm not ready to put him at the number 1 spot anymore. And again, a month ago, we were talking about him being by far the top candidate in the MVP race. And I think he's still probably going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year just because he's going to play a lot more games than Drake Maye as a starter. But as of right now, I think he's regressed a little bit. And I'm not taking anything away from Jayden Daniels. I mean, he's number 2 here on this list for a reason. He's an incredible passer, great arm strength, very accurate, probably the fastest running QB in the NFL. I might even put him ahead of Lamar Jackson. Very efficient, completes passes at like 80 to 90% some games. Good decision maker. Has shown a lot of leadership. I know that was a concern coming out of the draft, that he was a little bit, not the most outspoken leader quarterback that you want to see, but he's lifted up the Commanders' offense quite a bit, and that's helped them achieve this competitive record and the reason why they're currently in the playoff race. But I think a big concern with Jayden Daniels, and it did kind of crop up once, but he was back on the field the next week, but I think this is going to be a long-term concern for him, especially if he doesn't, hit the weight room, put on a little bit of weight, put on a little bit of muscle, which also might slow him down, so who knows if even that's a good idea. But his durability, I mean, this is a quarterback that I don't think ever slid once in college. I didn't watch every Jayden Daniels game. I do watch more LSU games than most teams, but Jayden Daniels, he does not protect himself. He puts himself in harm's way, and given his running style, I think that's going to catch up to him at some point and could potentially lead to minor injuries or even severe season-ending injuries. Luckily, that hasn't happened yet, but, I mean, another Washington example, RG3. We saw the incredible rookie year that he had, won Rookie of the Year that season, came back to earth, struggled with staying healthy. It could be a similar situation for Jayden Daniels. Now, I think Jayden Daniels is a significantly better pocket passer and a decision maker than RG3, but similar to Lamar Jackson early in his career, he's going to have to start adjusting and be more of a pocket passer, take advantage of that dual threat instead of relying so much on your legs. And look, I think Jayden Daniels probably could scramble a lot more than he's currently doing. I think it's been encouraging that he's done that, that he's stayed in the pocket as much as he has. But for the most part, he's a quarterback that is going to have real struggles staying healthy if he continues to use his legs the way he does, because he just is not built the way you want your quarterback to be built. Someone like Drake Maye, who I'm going to get to in a moment and go over the cons with him, one of which is he also puts himself in harm's way. But Drake Maye has the physique to handle the hits that I don't think Jayden Daniels has the physique to handle. But give Jayden Daniels some credit. He has the 23rd ranked offensive line in the NFL. Talked about Bo Nix, the best offensive line arguably in the NFL. Chicago has a top 10 O-line. They're 23rd, according to PFF. So give Jayden Daniels some credit for, getting rid of the football quickly, making positive plays, even when under pressure. But there is a reason the team is currently in an offensive slump. I don't think the offensive play calling has been better the last few weeks for Washington in the few games I've watched. So a lot of this is probably beyond his control, or perhaps they don't want to put him in situations where it's going to be a little too complex for him. That's why they've really simplified the offense in Washington. But overall, very impressed with Jayden Daniels. There's a reason he leapfrogged Caleb Williams in this ranking. But that brings me to number one. And I know I'm a Patriots fan, so I'm very biased, but it's got to be Drake Maye. And the reason why it's Drake Maye, it's not so much the statistics, although they're very good, especially of recent weeks. It's not so much the improvement and the development, which has been good. It's the situation that he's currently in. Obviously, compared to the other three quarterbacks I mentioned, Drake Maye is dealing with far inferior weapons. Now, I do think Demario Douglas is underrated. Kendrick Bourne is decent. Booty's had some big splashes this year, but we know the issues with Polk and Baker and Tyquan Thornton, who was released, all that stuff going on. Drake Maye does not have the weapons to throw to that these other quarterbacks have. But more importantly, Drake Maye is dealing with the worst offensive line in the NFL by far, and that's the New England Patriots. Looking at this same Pro Football Focus data, they rank on a scale. Overall, Denver is at 61 at number one. The Patriots are down at 43, 32nd overall in the NFL. In fact, the New Orleans Saints, who are the second worst team according to Pro Football Focus, jumps up 3 points to 46. So the Patriots aren't even close to even being the second worst offensive line in the NFL right now. They've ranked, it looks like, the worst in the NFL at the center position. Okay, New York Giants are worse at center, but they have good tackles. They have mediocre guards. Patriots have the worst set of tackles. They have Vidarian Lowe and DeMontre Jacobs, and Caden Wallace was out there a little bit, and the other guys they've kind of thrown around. But they rank 40 with tackles, and the next unit of tackles, according to Pro Football Focus, is it the Titans? Yeah, the Titans at 49. So that is a 9-point drop from the second worst set of tackles in the NFL to what the New England Patriots have, which is the reason overall why they have the worst offensive line in the NFL. And Drake Maye is salvaging it. And in fact, there was a Computer Cowboy put out this tweet today showing pass protection measurements, and it ranks the Patriots and the Saints as the two worst teams in the NFL, kind of alone by themselves on the graph compared to the other 30 NFL teams. And Drake Maye is still excelling and keeping his team in games. And look, we know what Drake Maye is capable of in terms of the arm strength, in terms of his mobility. Yes, he's not as fast as Jayden Daniels, but he's able to take those hits. And he's improved week after week. And it's not just in terms of decision-making, which could be better, definitely, but in terms of being a leader, getting the team in and out of the huddle pre-snap. And it looks like the offense has gotten increasingly more complex week after week with Drake Maye out there, and he's picking up on it. Now, what does Drake Maye need to improve on? I mentioned it with Jayden Daniels. He needs to protect himself better when he scrambles. He slid, got a concussion a few weeks ago, and now he doesn't want to slide. He wants to dive forward for whatever reason. Needs to go back to sliding, and because you're not going to get hit in the head that much if you're sliding. And if you're diving forward, you're probably going to get hit in the head more. So Drake Maye, give up the extra 2 to 3 yards, slide a little bit more. We know he's also more inexperienced than these quarterbacks. He's only 22 years old, or 21 or 22, Drake Maye currently is. Played less games than any of these quarterbacks. He also has turnover issues, right? Drake Maye, and I was listening to this on Felger and Maz yesterday, or the day before, he has put the ball on the ground between his first season as a starter in North Carolina to where he is today with the New England Patriots. He has put the ball on the ground every other game. And that's not even counting interceptions. Those are fumbles. The interceptions were an issue at UNC. And look, he's better than Josh Allen as a rookie, who is the comp to Drake Maye along with Justin Herbert. Josh Allen was throwing interceptions left and right, and he still throws interceptions left and right. But he needs to reel that in a little bit, and the decision-making has to be a little bit better there, especially in those crucial late-game situations where he's taking those deep bombs that have gotten picked off, like in overtime against Tennessee and like this past week at home against the LA Rams. But I don't know. That might have been Demario Douglas's fault. That's kind of debatable. Douglas should have been looking back, but he was earlier in the route. Maye should have thrown it a little beyond to the left side, and that might have been a game-winning touchdown. So just the decision-making overall has to be a little bit better. But as mentioned, the receivers for the Patriots, they're not doing Drake Maye any favors. The offensive line certainly isn't doing him any favors. And the coaching staff, for the most part, isn't doing him any favors. And I know I've been critical of Alex Van Pelt on this podcast. I think the play calling has improved, but it's still kind of unimaginative, especially in late game crucial situations. But Alex Van Pelt has done a good job at developing Drake Maye and getting him ready week after week. But overall, he does not have the experienced play calling offensive coordinators that certainly Jayden Daniels has and certainly Bo Nix has in Denver. So I guess Caleb Williams is kind of in a similar situation. They fired their offensive coordinator. I don't think Alex Van Pelt is getting fired, considering he's been improving. But overall, I mean, just with the situation he's in, the hits that Drake Maye takes, the sacks that he takes, the pressures he's dealing with, his ability to get rid of the football quickly, he does hold on to it a little too long at times, but for the most part, he takes advantage of the quick game, and he's far more accurate than I expected coming out of college. So, of these four quarterbacks, I would much rather have Drake Maye than any of these guys, because coming out of the draft, remember, Drake Maye was considered the inexperienced, raw quarterback with the very high ceiling. Well, we learned this season that his low floor really isn't that low, and if this is what he looks like as a rookie, being the quarterback with the highest ceiling, the sky is the limit for Drake Maye, and he's already come into his own. He already looks like a veteran quarterback out there. He's the guy I'd rather have out there compared to these other three very good quarterbacks. And like I said, Caleb Williams probably going to be in a better coaching situation next season, and he may jump to the top of the list. Jayden Daniels may return to MVP form, or he may get hurt, like I've been saying. And Bo Nix, who's in arguably the best situation of these four quarterbacks, he may come back to earth, or he may continue to accelerate and improve, because he does have a great offensive line in front of him and has some decent weapons in Denver. But with all that Drake Maye's had to deal with, the fact that the Patriots are in these games in a rebuilding year with a rookie head coach, with essentially a rookie offensive coordinator. I know Alex Van Pelt has been an offensive coordinator, but a rookie play caller. Drake Maye is making the most out of the least, and that's why he is number one on this list. But let me know if you disagree. If you had to re-rank these four quarterbacks, where would you put them? Do you think Drake Maye should be number one? Do you think Drake Maye is number four? Let me know. I'm curious to hear from you in the comments below. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, or subscribe if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and we'll see you very soon.